Hello, everybody. This is the first video in a series of videos directed at high school and middle school students who want to conduct research in biology or learn more about it. This video is made by STEM for Tomorrow, a nonprofit organization dedicated to inspiring young people to learn more about STEM or conduct research in it. So we're going to start off for our first topic in biology with classification, the introductory to classification. Now, this may seem like a weird starting point, but in biology, which is the study of life, it's good to know how we can group life. So how do we classify different species in life? So classifications, it is the basis for biology. Each living thing falls into different categories based on similar shared qualities, different ways you could group them. So as you're going to see to your right, there is life, domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. As you go down that list, the groupings become more specific. So two animals from the same genus are going to be way more similar than two animals from the same domain. Like a blobfish and a lion are technically in the same domain, but they obviously wouldn't be in the same genus. So a good mnemonic to remember this is King Philip came over for green salad or garden salad. You have your preferences. King Philip came over for green salad. Just a helpful way to remember kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So vocabulary. I'm going to get into a little bit of domains, but mainly kingdoms, specifically talking about it. And a lot of the different characteristics I'm going to be talking about are going to be based on this vocabulary. So just to catch you up, prokaryotes are cells that don't have a nucleus. If you look to your right, you'll see what cells type to look like. They have kind of a pill-like shape with the DNA just floating in the cytoplasm, and they have a tail. Obviously look quite different to the eukaryotes further right. So eukaryotes do have a nucleus. They have way more complex organelles, and there's just way more complex versions of prokaryotes. But eukaryotes, big difference is eukaryotes have a nucleus and prokaryotes don't. Autotrophs. These are living things that are able to make their own food. Basically like plants with photosynthesis. They only need themselves to make food. Like they can gain energy from the sun and they do like a chemical reaction like photosynthesis to make food. Heterotrophs need to gain energy from outside sources. I feel like everyone's mind jumps to meat eaters. Like, if I eat a steak, I am gaining energy from outside sources. But if you think of, like, you can see a goat to the right eating grass. Grass is still an outside source. Vegetation is still an outside source. So that is still a heterotroph. Autotrophs are only, like, photosynthesis. Unicellular is one cell, and multicellular is multiple cells. Just means the species, that living being, has multiple cells in its body. Okay, getting into domains. There's three domains in life. There's archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. We're going to start with eukarya. Now, eukarya has four different kingdoms in it. It is Plantae, Animalia, Fungi, Protists or Protista. These are eukaryotes. They're multicellular and unicellular. They're autotrophs or heterotrophs. Basically, most of life fits into this category. Most of living things that you would think of fit into this category. But then we have bacteria. This only contains one kingdom, eubacteria. They're prokaryotes. They're unicellular. They could be autotrophs or heterotrophs, and they're actually quite common. They're like germs, very connected to disease. Anyway, archaea. Archaebacteria is the kingdom within this domain. There's prokaryotes, unicellular, autotrophs, and heterotrophs. I'll go more specifically into these kingdoms in a second. Kingdoms. There's six kingdoms: Plantae, Animalia, Fungi, Protists, Eubacteria, or Protista, Eubacteria, Archaebacteria. Plantae. These are multicellular organisms. They are walled eukaryotic cells. And basically eukaryotic, we already talked about it, nucleus, complex organelles, but they have something called a cell wall, which if you look down, you can see this green, hard, rigid structure around the cell. Well, that is the cell wall. The principal way of getting energy is through photosynthesis. They contain a rigid structure as a cell wall. You can see to the left how rigid structure is. And they usually contain chlorophyll, which is what makes plants green. Chlorophyll does more than just that, but it does have the dye that makes plants green. Animalia, featuring all these very cute animals. It's multicellular, heterotrophic, eukaryotes. Eukaryotes. They do not have a cell wall. They just have a cell membrane, which is what contains the cell, but they don't have that rigid structure like we just saw with the plants. They typically reproduce sexually, and we're in this kingdom. Mankind is in this kingdom. I think we're quite lucky. Look at these dogs. We're also in the same kingdom as them. It's very cute. And then we have fungi. These are heterotrophic. They have cell walls that contain chitin. That sounds very complex, but basically they have cell walls like plants, but they contain a very special chemical called chitin, which affects a lot of their properties and just the way they react. They go through cellular mitosis with no cytokinesis. Mitosis is a type of cellular division. When the cell gets old, it splits into two cells. So that's kind of like the life of a cell. This process is called mitosis, but they don't have the last step, cytokinesis. It may not make sense to you, but it affects a lot of their properties, and this is just a unique characteristics that can put you in this fungi category. So they're non-vascular organisms. They reproduce using spores. Examples are yeast, molds, and mushrooms, as you can see. Then we have Protista. Now, really, really, really pay attention to this kingdom because the most common to use in science fair experiments. I feel like a lot of people overlook this kingdom, but this is what primarily you're going to be working with if you do a science fair experiment. You might be working with plants as well. That is true. But if you're looking for a little bit more like they can move and, Protista is the way to go. They're all eukaryotes. They have complex organelles. Most of them are multicellular. They reproduce asexually, so without sex. They are found in water environments. Examples, amoeba, euglena, paramecium. So I would really, really pay attention to these and specifically those types of species and what unique characteristics you can do. A lot of them you could look under a microscope, and they're just a very good basis for a lot of them, again, are found in water environment. They're in the freshwater ecosystem. So you can a lot of times test out different things on them to see how they will react. And that is a good basis for how the freshwater ecosystem would react with changes in their environment. So that's just a very good basis for a lot of science fair projects that have a lot of real world basis. Then we have Archaebacteria. They're prokaryotes. They were the original life forms on Earth along with eubacteria. And basically, prokaryotes were the original life form on Earth before they evolved. And we now have eukaryotes, which are more complex and they have the nucleus. So just a thing to know. They're unicellular. They don't have organelles. They have membranes that contain lipids that no other kingdom has. So that's how you can usually tell it's an Archaebacteria. But overall, the way most people are going to tell is they live in extreme conditions, such as like volcanic vents. They live in extreme cold or extreme hot places. So that's why they're different than eubacteria. And their primary purpose tends to be different. Anyway, if you look to the right, you can see they just look like little pills. Then we have eubacteria. They're unicellular. They're prokaryotes. The difference between Archaebacteria is that eubacteria gets people sick. They're linked to many diseases. They're basically germs. And a good way to remember this is eubacteria will get you sick. Ah ha ha ha. And have a fun one for Archaebacteria. If you have any thoughts, please tell me. So why do we care about classifying species? Why does it matter? Being able to group species by characteristics helps people see trends in behavior. If you have two people from the same genus, then you can generally predict how they're going to react to certain elements or certain factors that might be brought in from an ecosystem, just generally. It's a way to name species. A species' scientific name is the genus, then the species. Having specific scientific names for every species helps communication between scientists. Science is all about collaboration. There's scientists from all over the world collaborating. if you don't know what species you're talking about, you're reaching a lot of problems. So each species has a specific scientific name that is completely different than anything else, and it's because of this naming system. So similarities in species can help scientists see evolution patterns, and what species split off from each other. This can just help see evolution tracks. If you see that, oh, this species is different than this one because they split off because of this. Having these groupings helps people really see, oh, these are the species that split off from those. I see. Yes. Anyway, that's it for my video lesson today. The next video in the series will be talking about ecosystems, just a little preview, talking about communities and biomes, biotic versus abiotic factors, competition, food chains, all the ecosystem stuff. So thank you for watching, and this has been STEM for Tomorrow.